Does anyone have any questions at all for each of the artists, or indeed all of the artists, a general question about their commissions? Okay, I have a question for them. Obviously working to a commission is a very particular brief for you all, and I wonder what the experience of that has been in terms of taking any findings, any experiences back to your personal work. Maybe Alec in particular for you in terms of collaborating with your daughter.
Is this still on? No. It is on? For me, the issue in my personal work has been this whole battle about photographing democratically. I did this sort of slideshow video project where I traveled down the Mississippi River again. I sort of did my first body of work was called Sleeping by the Mississippi. It was made over the course of years, but I did this 3-day trip down the Mississippi in which I visited William Eggleston's house and sort of went on this long walk to his house, a 7-mile walk, photographing in the style of Eggleston, sort of battling with this issue of if you can photograph everything, how does anything have any meaning? How does a photograph have meaning? And so this, for me, this was really a way of thinking. It was just a way of thinking through that. It's interesting in Martin's presentation, he's talking about, one of the photographers being a taxi driver, people who photograph without that same kind of self-consciousness that sometimes photographers have. And so it's my longing for that, but also the realization that I don't have it, that I can't get it back. So it was just for me it was a way of thinking through that, and I don't have answers.
Okay, thank you. Stephen, you?
The question was if it's influencing my personal...
anything through this kind of experience coming back and responding to the brief for this commission.
Yeah.
Is there anything you take back into your personal work?
I think maybe to continue, as I've sort of been dipping my toe in, less kind of steering work, or even if I have strong subject matters in my mind, or things that just fascinate me, or things that I want to try and get my teeth into photographically. I think I like this balance, and I'm sure I'll probably continue exploring it. Just also really, really listening to the subject, and maybe getting braver to maybe step back a little bit and allow the subject to guide me, rather than just go from your mind to the finished work. And just, although I do still like working that way, just kind of reacting to things rather than kind of verbalizing them or talking things to death before the work exists. I've always kind of tried to work like that, just leap from the mind to the finished work rather than or sort of bypassing words. And so I think the danger is that often words can really hold down work that doesn't even exist yet. So I think just to allow work to kind of really have that momentum, so I think maybe just continue with that frame of mind really.
I think for you all, it's something Martin talked about earlier, is about kind of allowing your intuition to lead you, and I guess the commission reinforces that to happen, especially in a new place.
Yeah.
Hi.
Okay. Just one thing just to finish up on my thought related to yours, that for me, one of the things that came out of this and that I've been working on is that to hold, with the thousands of pictures, taking thousands of pictures, for me what holds them together, what I can use is storytelling. This is this new interest, and this is the way that words maybe don't compete with photographs at times, is in the story. And so that's what was so exciting about this little storybook, and it was sort of a key part of the project, and I have been working on telling these little stories after this project.
Rinko, is there anything you'd like to add about how this process of making this new work has made you think about your personal work?
いつも作品作って自分がなんでこの作品を作ったのかっていうのを消化するのに発表してからちょっと時間がかかったりすることがあるんですけど。
Sometimes it takes time for me to digest the reason that I took these photos after.
だから今まだこれがどうやって自分の作品次に書いてくるのかっていうのはまだわからないんですけど、
So at the moment I'm not quite sure how these work will come back to me.
ただ確実に言えるのがさっき言ったようにデジタルカメラを使ったっていうのはすごく結構大きいことで自分の中で。
The one thing I can say for sure was that this was my first work with a digital camera, and that was a big thing for me.
多分これからだからデジタルを使う確率がすごくこれをきっかけに増えていくっていうことは確実にあります。
And I know for sure that I'll be using digital camera a lot in the future.
あと今回自分の作品がどうフィードバックするかっていうよりも、私は今回スティーブンとアレックと一緒にショーができたっていうのが一番の大きな収穫だったと思っていて。
This time I was very happy. My biggest personal gain was to be able to work with Stephen and Alec.
同じテーマのコミッションワークでこんなに角度が違うものの見方と考え方ができて、すごく私は自由度っていうか、自分が今までこう縛られて作ってきたものがすごく解放されている感じがして。
Well, we had the same theme for the same commission, but the photographs that we have taken are so different. So it made me the sense of, gave me the sense of freedom in a way.
なんかね、すごく自分が小さかったものがすごく解体されていくっていうか、すごく2人の作品を見て、なんか本当に撮り方とか解釈とか、すごくなんかそれが、とても大きなことだった。
And looking at photographs of Alex and Stephen, that I realized that there are so many different interpretations for the same thing, and that was a big gain.
それは一番の大きな収穫。
Yes, and I said that was what I learned the most, which was wonderful.
That leads me partly to my next question, which has been, you've all come this week to install your exhibitions, and it must have been quite scary in a way to be going into that room and see one another. How does that feel, and what do you think of each other's work as well? Yeah, you go first.
Yeah. And I can actually say, deliberately, I've kind of kept my blinkers on this week installing, so I haven't looked at what's on the walls yet. Deliberately, just wanting this kind of surprise this evening. Other than my own show, I haven't seen Rinko or Alec yet, other than just from the corner. I've caught a few starlings. I'm really looking forward to seeing the shows together. And so, yeah, from what's on the screen, just sort of tastes from magazines and stuff. I haven't seen the final series yet. Yeah, so look forward.
I mean, for me, these things are always a bit nerve-wracking because, you're producing work. I mean, Rinko is right where not a lot of this is digested yet. I mean, it's all been done this year, and it takes time to work through things. And normally, with personal projects, you have years to do work and to digest it. And here's a deadline, and you have to have it ready. And then on top of it, two really, honestly, of my favorite photographers in the world here. So it's quite scary to be, who's going to, wow, they're going to really kick my butt. But at the same time, we're all in the same boat. I'm really delighted, as Rinko spoke about how there is this thread running through the exhibition, and there is this childlike quality. I mean, very explicitly. In Rinko's third room, or in the room with the people, and this little child, and you feel like you're looking at the world from a child's perspective, and then you're sort of always a little boy to me, playing with things. So it's really interesting.
I'm very conscious of the time. Does anyone have a question? Yes.
I'll just pick up on the last point. It's a question directed to Alec.
Sorry, can you speak up a bit?
I try and bring it back around to the general tenor of what you're talking about. It seems to me that the idea of naivety in the process of de-skilling has been kind of fairly central to ideas about fine art practice since the late 19th century. No one can think about various examples. Photography got around to it fairly late on. I mean, I think only really to the 1990s, but it took up the notion of the unsophisticated, both in terms of technical approaches and also subject matter with kind of gusto. So I'm just wondering, in a sense, what you've done here, in what sense is different from that. And I suppose one way to approach that would be, I think you said, well, I couldn't take photographs like that. So one question would be, what's the difference between a good bat photography and bad bat photography? And second question would be, is whether naivety is a kind of advantage and a prerequisite to doing a commission such as this, which is just to pick up on what you were saying about all of you having a childlike sort of quality.
I think, can I start?
Yeah, please.
I think it's quite interesting, the good bad and the bad bad. I think also, yeah, I think in the late 90s there was kind of waves of, you know, it was on the fringes of kind of Richard Billiam's amazing work and this kind of looseness and spontaneity, you know, roughly around the same time where conversations about and around photography were leaning so much the other way. We were talking about megapixels and DPI, it was so technical. And I think then there was this strange period where a lot of professional photographers who made work, I think, were using this kind of almost dumbing down or disguising their own work or making it look like it was taken by a child, or this kind of fake, naive kind of. And I think that's something that photographers have to be very careful of, this kind of this facade. But then I think Rinko just mentioned it was very liberating to make work, and I think to really let go and make work and not think of an audience or not think what do people want to see and go and make, not fulfilling people's appetite. I think you make yourself quite vulnerable because it's quite scary to not think of an audience, just do things purely for what you wanted to do and what you think is very, very exciting. But I think, yeah, that you do get into, you kind of make yourself a bit vulnerable as well, maybe by not giving people what they want. But I think it's almost too easy to give people what they want. We all know what is considered good photography and replicas or karaoke versions of what is considered good. So I think, but then you have to be careful of not kind of deliberately dumbing down to make it look like it's childish. Sorry, I don't know that. Okay, so
Thank you. I'm conscious of the time. I know we have to leave this room really, really quickly. So I just want to say thank you very much to each of the artists today. They've all agreed very kindly to sign books after this session. 3 titles have been published by Photoworks. So if you leave via the side entrance here, in the cafe bar, each of the artists will be signing books and you can purchase them in there as well. Thank you very much for being a lovely audience.